Hello, what up, my people? We're gonna try something different today. I saw this very interesting video on YouTube. It was an interview that the great African American thinker Neil deGrasse Tyson did, and he was asked the question whether or not he believes in God. And I just thought I would, chime in on this, and let's see.
Do you believe in God?
Me?
Creator?
Yeah, so the more I look at the universe, just the less convinced I am that there is something benevolent going on. So if your concept of a creator is someone who's all powerful and all good, that's not an uncommon pairing of powers that you might describe to a creator. All powerful and all good. And I look at disasters that afflict Earth and life on Earth. Volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, disease, pestilence, congenital birth defects. You look at this list of ways that life is made miserable on Earth by natural causes. And I just ask, how do you deal with that?
Okay, Mr. Tyson here is obviously a pretty intelligent man. He dealt with a lot of territory here, covered a lot of ground, a lot of theology, a little bit of philosophy, things that people have gotten into. Most of it has pretty much been answered and kind of debunked, though, I would say. But one thing I would tell people, religious people, like who believe in God, who believe in the Creator, you shouldn't berate this man for his thoughts. Us human beings, we were blessed with intellect, which we should use. And most people actually believe in God really because their parents raised them to do so, and really haven't sat back and given these types of these types of concepts, a lot of thought. But what I would say is I do disagree with a number of the assertions Mr. Tyson had given here, because I think he kind of jumped the gun on a few things. The basic question he was asked is, do you believe in God? Do you believe in the Creator? And really, he kind of jumped into the problem of evil, which I think is something that is really connected to it, to the issue. Really, he steps over the more basic question, which is how can there be a creation, right? Before we get into criticizing the quality of the creation, whether or not everything here is benevolent or everything is beautiful, and whether or not disease is a good thing, pestilence, volcanoes, and death, whether or not these things are good or bad, the first question should be, how do these things exist without a creator? Did it come from an intelligent creator who deemed it and designed it to be so? Or did it just come from some random bang which produced all of the different minerals and all of the different types of matter in existence, and which one of these things make more sense? That really would be the first question. With regards to the quality of creation, well, sir, really, I think he's intelligent enough to know that he can kind of find the answers within the things themselves. Like, for example, when we look at the concept of pain, is pain good or bad? Well, that can be kind of subjective, right? A child would probably say that pain is all bad, whereas people of advanced intelligence, who kind of study these things, especially if you're in the medical field, you will see pain as a good thing and a blessing, because without pain, how would you ever know there's something wrong with your body, right? The body has reactions. The body reacts to notify us that maybe we should do some different things. Like, you have fever because there's something wrong with the body, right? The body is trying to push disease out of it. That's why you have fever. We have rashes because the body's trying to push these types of things out. You have headaches, which indicate there's something wrong. Without this type of discomfort and dis-ease, which is what disease is, how would one even know to even check? It was interesting. I saw on the Oprah Winfrey show, there was this case of a girl who did not have the ability to feel pain. And you know what was the result of it? The girl used to take and bite her tongue so much so that she would bite chunks off of her tongue. Why? Because you don't have pain, right? So, sir, don't be so quick to criticize these types of things without understanding the greater purpose for them.
So philosophers rose up and said, if there is a God, God is either not all powerful or not all good. I have no.
Well, sir, that's some philosophers have said that. Not all philosophers. There are philosophers who, actually do believe in God, like Ibn Rushd, the great, I believe, 7th century, scholar, and others who did believe in God. It isn't like a foregone conclusion that everyone who engages in philosophy doesn't.
No problems. If, as we probe the origins of things, we bump up into the bearded man. If that shows up, we're good to go. Okay? Not a problem. There's just no evidence of it. And this is.
Well, this is the thing about evidence, right? Evidence can oftentimes be subjective. Like what convinces one person does not necessarily convince the next person. Okay, now evidence can also be of two types. You have the empirical evidence, and then you also have logical evidence. Okay, so empirical evidence is something that is, you would say, that's tangible, that one can point at and say, okay, this is evidence of that happening. It could be something as simple as, you know, if I leave a glass of water on the table and then I come back and I see that the contents of the water is spilled on the table when I come back. This is evidence that someone knocked the glass over and spilled the contents of the water onto the table. Okay, that's empirical evidence. Okay, one could say that the existence of an earth necessitates that someone created that earth. I mean, that's the logic I would have. Okay, apparently to someone else, maybe that earth could have come out of nowhere. So what convinces one person may not convince the next person. Secondly, when it comes to logic, it's the same basic type of thing there, right? So what may convince one person may not convince the next person, because when in the past, okay, whether or not you believe in prophets, but there have been men who've claimed to receive messages from God. They have existed. And during their times, they provided empirical evidence. Like, for example, with the children of Israel, and you also have this in Islam and in the Christian tradition, the stories of men like Moses, okay, who split the Red Sea in front of people. So for them, it would serve as empirical evidence. Of course, someone in this age will say, "Well, I don't believe it," But you have to also admit, you saying you don't believe it happened does not mean it did not happen. Okay, so, but my point is, empirical evidence was shown in all of these stories, and even with that, people didn't always believe. Okay, this happened during the time of the prophets Muhammad, times of Jesus, where he healed people and different things like that. These stories, for those who believe them, did happen. But even though they happened, there were still people who rejected empirical evidence right in front of them, and others who did believe. So that does not necessarily mean much there, sir.
Why religions are called faiths, collectively. Because you believe something in the absence of evidence. That's what it is.
Well, sir, one can also say that belief in the Big Bang being the starting point of all of creation also requires faith. And I would actually argue that it takes more faith to believe that everything happened by chance, which is what is implied through the Big Bang, than it happened by some entity that is too great for us to see and sense with the senses, creating it.
That's why it's called faith. Otherwise, we would call all religions evidence. But we don't, for exactly that reason.
Well, religions are called evident. They're not called faiths, or they're not called evidence, because they include more than just the belief system. Like in Islam, for example, it's called a religion because you religiously perform acts, right? It isn't just the belief system, the existence of God. That's just one part of it. And that's the same thing with like Christianity, for example. There's of course there's the belief system, that they have, and then there's also the religious duties that one performs. And this is the same with Judaism, and I'm sure with other systems as well.
Given what everyone describes
But I'm sure
to be the properties that would be expressed by an all-powerful being in the gods that they worship, I look for that in the universe and I don't find it.
Well, that's again that's subjective as well, because something like pestilence could also serve as mercy. Okay, because if people, let's say, have developed certain eating habits, for example, that may have led to the breakout of a disease in an area. What happens is if people who come later study that and they take as an example what happened to those people, so they know how to avoid what led to that pestilence there, then that's actually a good thing, right? So just saying that the existence of like something like pain or death in and of itself is proof that there's no creator, because the creator in your mind has to fulfill what you consider to be benevolence, really isn't really proving anything. But like, to each his own.
So I remain unconvinced. But if you got some good evidence, bring it, bring it, bring it. Okay?
And then again, and then as we said before, that's subjective. Like, when you say good evidence, you mean good enough for you, sir. Not just good. And you determining whether or not it's good or not really has nothing to do with everyone else.
So I don't lead with that information, because what I believe should be irrelevant to anyone.
Well, we agree there, sir. What you believe is irrelevant to others.
It's not about me. It's about the real world.
Well, my people there, that's pretty much the end of the interview, and that's all we have. Slap a like on it if you like this video. If not, let me know how you felt about our commentary, or let me know how you felt about what Mr. Tyson has said, whether you agree with him or not. And until next time, we are out.